Cool. Hi, CCM. Good to be with you. I'm here today with Neil Cornthwaite, who works for Barnabus. And this is coming up to our Give Big in November, where we're going to give to three different kind of projects, and Barnabus being one of those, which we've given to Barnabus before. So, Neil, just give us a brief rundown what Barnabus does and how you used the money last time.
Yes, so Barnabas is a Christian homeless charity based in the heart of Manchester. So we operate a sports centre on Bloom Street, and we help mainly people who are rough sleeping in the city centre access, help with their benefits, getting accommodation referrals, access to mental health services, all the myriad of issues that somebody might experience, and the reasons why they're homeless, we try and help with. And alongside that, we'll do the practicals, we'll do the basics, we'll do food, we'll do clothing, we'll do showers, we have a nurse on site. So that's our kind of basic service, and that's what we do day in, day out. And the money that you so generously gave as a church to us has been used really to sustain that work, in particular, cooking food and providing showers and clothing for those who are in the most desperate of need, I guess, in the city centre. So the money that you gave us has helped us do that. We've housed people. We continue to work through lockdown, providing food and housing people, initially in the Everyone In campaign with the hotels, and then on now currently we're working with all the local agencies to try and get people off the streets into temporary accommodation as best we can.
So lockdown and the COVID situation, it seemed like March, April, we almost solved homelessness in Manchester. There was just the will and the money, and it seems to, there was quite a fanfare about the fact it was possible. What has happened since the money stopped, and where are we up to now?
So the money kind of ran out end of June, and we were then faced with, the hotels beginning to close down. So the hotels that had been allocated to those people who were in during lockdown. So everybody was made an offer, everybody who was in those hotels, and there was 1,700 people accommodated, which is incredible, from all 10 boroughs. And they were offered it. Some of it was good offers, but a lot of it wasn't, because there isn't the properties and there isn't the place to put people. So some people obviously refused and then ended up back on the streets. Some people were struggling with their mental health anyway, and then ended up leaving the hotels before the end of the Everyone In campaign. So we ended up with a mixture of people who are in temporary accommodation. At least 3 of the hotels are still running because there was some extra money given by the government. So we can still put people in those hotels, but obviously that's a drop in the ocean compared to what we had before. And now we've got a cohort of guys who've been in a really nice place, and now they're not, and they're back out on the street, and a lot of them gone back to their addictions, a lot of them gone back to rough sleeping, and a lot of them are really lacking hope now, having tasted something so good, now finding themselves really back on the streets in the worst situation. So they're very hard to reach.
So Vicky and I were in town. We're in Manchester just this week, and I think I've been in once or twice since lockdown, but it was really stark. It was just Monday lunchtime. The number of people, homeless people clearly high on something, people clearly struggling, big groups of them, especially or classically around Piccadilly Gardens. But it was almost like it was pre-COVID, when it's been getting bad for about 10 years and would seem to be peaking, and seems to be well on the way back to that. Is that your experience as well?
Yeah, it's definitely growing. We're not back to pre-COVID levels in terms of people rough sleeping. We're definitely back to pre-COVID levels in people accessing drugs and going back to their addictions and struggling with their mental health. So those people that you would have seen, will be a mixture of people who are rough sleeping, mixture of people who are accommodated but are struggling and are coming back to the city centre to feed their addictions, and obviously begging to do that. And obviously that creates a scene, creates antisocial behaviour and all the kind of issues that go with that. So during lockdown, the sort of number of rough sleepers dropped to about 39. Pre-lockdown, it was over 200. We're estimating
in the city centre, right?
Yeah, that was in the city centre, just in the city centre. And so that was great news, but now we're kind of, obviously it's climbing again. We're estimating, and it's hard to sort of put this in, you know, concrete figures, but around 50 to 60 people now rough sleeping, and we can only see that increasing because the places we want to put people, the temporary accommodation, are full. So, you know, we've got record numbers of people in places that are temporary. So I think there's over 1,000 at the moment in temporary accommodation, which that's a state we've never had before. So yeah, there's lots of levels of issues to it. Obviously, we're slightly braced for what's coming next as furlough ends, as you know, potential evictions start happening in the new year, and people start losing their jobs with redundancies, etc. Yeah, we're not quite sure what the next phase is going to look like, because obviously rough sleeping is just the visible end of homelessness. There's all the other aspects like sofa surfing and temporary accommodation and all of that that we're waiting to see what that's going to look like.
So as we give, as people just watching this are thinking about how they can give, how will the money be useful to Barnabus? What you, as you go into this, what could be a very difficult season? How will it help?
Yeah, so the money will help us obviously sustain what we're doing in the support centre. So we're trying to see as many people as we can. At the moment, social distancing and everything else, we can only see around 12 people a day, which used to be 60 or 70. And whilst that's a blow, the flip side of that is that I've got an engagement worker team who can work deeper and longer with people now, who can spend quality time with each person who comes in. Our aim is not just to feed and clothe them. Our aim is to get them off the streets and accommodated. So the money will help us do that. And we start with a temporary bed in, you know, a hostel or hotel type situation, but then we want to move people on and ultimately into their own private tenancies. We've just taken on a house, which is not ours, but a landlord turned around to us a few weeks ago and said, here are the keys, 4 bedrooms, go and fill it, which we're like, yes. So that was a first step on the journey of us having more properties and having places we can put people. So, and that costs money, obviously. You know, we have to furnish it, we have to get people in there, we have to do the right thing around safeguarding and keeping everybody safe and supporting those people to make sure they're successful in their tenancies. So yeah, that's the way we're moving. It's lower numbers, but hopefully we can take people permanently away from the streets rather than being on this cycle that we've just been talking about.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Thank you very much for your time. So Give Big will be at the end of November. If you're watching CCM, go pray about, you know, what you think you can do, what you feel like God's telling you to do. And all of the money that comes in goes out. CCM doesn't keep any to these different projects, including Barnabas. So yeah, thanks very much.